I'm going to start the theme. You're going to hear some music, and then
Cool.
we'll just get to talking. It'll be casual. No worries. There's no goals here except for having a good time and getting to know each other a little better.
Cool.
And that's it.
I love all this stuff. I like audio.
Yeah, for sure. I'm here today with Joseph Weaver. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Nice to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Fuck yeah. So you said you were traveling a little bit. What were you up to?
I was in DC last week.
Okay.
Do you know Johnny Spiro?
Yeah.
So his
He just
new
went
place-
through that fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got you.
Like right at the same time that he's opening up his new restaurant. Bar
Exactly. So were you there for that, for Bar Sparrow?
Spiro. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Gotcha.
kind of a last minute thing. Got pulled out there, but was excited. The weather was great in DC. So
And you're shooting food?
yeah, shooting food, interiors, pretty much the whole thing. Just
Got
the
you.
pre-opening package.
How do you structure your schedule so that you're like, are you out there for 3 days? Do you need 3 days? How many days does a Joseph Weaver need?
It really depends on how much stuff we're trying to capture. I find for the opening of a restaurant, like a full day is kind of a good starting point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we're trying to capture the interiors of the restaurant, that's usually about half a day. And then I like to spend, 3 or 4 hours at least on getting the food shot properly.
Right.
Getting some nice locations for it. And then
Okay.
usually we've got headshots and some other stuff that get thrown in there.
Okay. When you're looking for locations to shoot food, what exactly are you looking for?
I really like using the natural materials of the restaurant.
Okay.
So, if there's like cool banquettes or there's great fabrics, tabletops sometimes.
Is that where we're seeing the floor come into play? A lot of people shoot on the floor.
Yeah,
Is
I
that-
actually I
okay.
did a bunch of stuff on the floor.
Okay,
at
got
First
you.
Bureau.
Hey, whatever, bro.
There's
That's
this like great stone
Yeah.
floor, the awesome texture to it.
It's
so-
cool that restaurant people admire that kind of thing. They walk into a bathroom and they're like, hey, you know what? The soap dispenser was very nice.
Yeah,
and it's like, unless you're in hospitality, it's almost like you don't notice those things. They come second nature. So it's cool to, be on the floor and just appreciating the tile and the work and whatever it is,
That's usually like when I first walk into a restaurant, that's one of the first things I do for
Yeah.
a shoot. I'll walk around and just try to find all the cool little, tchotchkes and things that
Yeah.
they've got accumulated in there, because that can kind of help tell the story of
Yeah.
the restaurant to some extent.
I think the best part of being a chef is being able to be in the kitchen when there's nobody in there and getting the energy of the place. And I think that that's something that you benefit from. You get to be in the space where very few people are, in that time of place.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like nobody sees it when it's empty, 9 a.m, there's no one there. And it's just like this living and breathing thing that you can like feel the energy of, and it wakes up and it's like, oh, hey, how you doing? And you turn everything on and the hoods are going on and there's all these vibrations,
Yep.
and part of doing this show, part of being in the business of documenting chefs that's the coolest part of it. It's like just being in that kitchen in the morning by yourself is
Yep.
like top for sure. So let's take it all the way back. Where were you born?
I was born in Montrose, Colorado.
Oh, okay.
So kind of on the western slope there.
Okay.
My dad actually still lives in Montrose. He moved back like 15 years ago.
Okay.
So-
What did you do when you grew up?
He was working for the government.
Okay.
It's an agency called WAPA. It's the Western Area Power Administration.
Mm.
So they basically like oversaw the transmission of power on the high voltage lines.
Okay.
So when you're like driving down the highway, you see those big lines. They were the ones that regulated that. So
Okay.
there wasn't too much power going one place or another, which would like blow out generators. And
Got you. And your mom?
my mom was a nurse. She was the head nurse at Children's Hospital in
Okay.
Denver, and then actually went to law school when I was like 10.
Oh, wow. All right.
So like,
Kicking some ass.
yeah,
Yeah.
So she's
Breaking barriers back in the day,
Yeah.
For sure. Love that. So what were you doing growing up? Were you playing sports, just going out on the slopes, or what?
I was a nerd.
Yeah?
Yeah, like I was
Staying inside?
sitting at home painting. Have you ever heard of Warhammer?
No.
It's funny. It's actually still going, but it's like this game where you get like huge armies of little miniatures
Right.
and paint them up and make them look nice, and then go fight other.
Oh, really? Like other kids in the neighborhood?
Yeah,
Whoa.
So my whole downstairs basement area was like set up so I
Right.
could paint these things, and then had sawhorses with doors on them, so you could like
Mm-hmm.
just set up huge like battlegrounds.
Oh, that's crazy. I was doing more of the GI Joe,
Yeah,
where you know
yeah, I was doing that too.
the little green dudes for sure. So an interest in the arts when you were younger, you could say,
Yeah,
for sure.
I was really into that stuff, and I
Mm-hmm.
spent the middle 25 years of my life not really doing any of that.
Mm.
So it was pretty nice to rediscover it.
Yeah. You have any siblings?
No, only child.
Oh, dope. All right. How's that play out in life? Because I meet some people and they're like, oh, only child. And then they give you like this thing and like they know
Yeah.
who you are already. And I don't like that.
I think my girlfriend has a big family, so like seeing the dichotomy between her and myself and how we interact with things has taught me
Right.
a lot about what being an only child means.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you don't know any different.
Yeah,
Then you can experience other people's house. Like you go to your friend's house, they may have a brother or sister.
yeah,
It's almost like when your friends have a dog, you can go over, enjoy the dog, but you don't have to like go
Yeah.
home and take them out.
like
and
borrow the dog.
do all the stuff. Yeah, exactly. For sure. Crazy. So what was your first job?
I think it was doing trail maintenance.
Trail
So,
maintenance. Okay.
My parents were divorced when I was like one.
Mhm.
So I kind of went back and forth between them. And when I was living with my dad, he was in Jefferson County, which was like a suburb of Denver, over in the mountains.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure my first job, it was a couple years in a row doing trail maintenance. And it was like a bunch of 10-year-olds and 15-year-olds kind of in that range,
Mhm.
going out with pickaxes and like clearing boulders from the trails that people would hike on.
Okay. I didn't know that was a job.
Yeah, in Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah,
What
we're-
was the crew like there? Do you 4 or 5 people? Do you need all of them?
It was big because it was a bunch of kids.
Right.
I think it was less of a job and more of something to like get kids out doing things during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we'd be hiking in 10 miles into a trail with heavy equipment and spend a day in the sun moving rocks.
Moving rocks around.
So it was a job.
So when you get there, are they like, hey, you got to go move these rocks? We noticed that these rocks need moving.
Yeah, we
okay.
would kind of like map out a 2-mile portion of trail and just
Mhm.
go along it, doing whatever stuff needed to be done.
Okay.
Sometimes it was making like little channels for water to run through and just
Mm.
different ways to keep the trails in good shape.
Okay. And where's that direction coming from? Just like the Parks Association? Are they like, or is it the Rangers themselves?
I've got no idea. I think it
Yeah.
probably had something to do with the Rangers because
Yeah.
there were, along with all these kids, there would be a couple Rangers with us, kind of being the nannies,
Park nannies.
making sure
Love
we
that.
didn't kill ourselves.
Yeah. So when it's time to graduate high school, go to college, did you have any plans going to college?
No, I mean, honestly, I think the next 25 years of my life was really just ruled by inertia.
Okay.
Didn't really have any good plans. Went to college at CSU in Fort Collins.
Okay.
Really enjoyed that.
You're good.
Loved it up there. Loved being on the Front Range. Studied physics and math because I didn't know anything better to do.
Mhm.
I think I picked those because of the look that would come on people's faces when I said that that's what I was studying.
Right.
Everybody's like, "Why are you doing that? That sounds hard."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah,
But you loved it. You
Yeah.
like to study and
yeah." I was
and all
really
that,
into
so-
it.
Okay. Okay.
And after college, I went to Europe for a few years.
Mhm.
I was in London and then Spain. And I think that's where I started getting really into food.
Okay. Were you just working at restaurants?
Yeah, actually in London, I worked in restaurants. but
Okay.
It was after that. It was in Spain where I was doing more traveling because I couldn't get a work visa.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't speak a lot of Spanish. Remember getting into Barcelona and super hot. I was by myself, still had all my bags on me, but I found a restaurant and everybody does like a menu of the day sort of thing, especially at lunch,
Right.
which would be, 3 courses and like a bottle of wine. And I just thought that was amazing. I loved the idea of just picking things at random out of a menu that I didn't really understand.
Mhm.
And I think the first dish that I got was a big plate of sardines with kind of a green sauce on it. And
Yeah.
it was just amazing. It's like,
You're like, you didn't know food can taste this good?
yeah, I'd never
Yeah.
had anything like that in Colorado because, access to seafood wasn't
Yeah.
great back then.
What'd you grow up eating? Your parents cook?
Yeah, my dad was a good cook actually.
Yeah.
He lived in Nepal for 6-ish years.
Doing what?
He was in the Peace Corps.
Okay.
He was teaching math.
Dope.
Although he didn't have any math training. It was just kind of like they needed a math teacher, so
yeah.
like, all right, I'll do that.
It's like give him the book, like figure it out, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tell you. Yeah.
So he would cook a lot of Nepalese food when I was a kid, or Nepali, which I loved. Still do.
Cool. That's a good cuisine to grow up eating. It's very different.
Yeah.
And there's not like a lot of Nepalese restaurants just around.
No, especially not in Colorado.
Yeah, for sure.
There's like there was a Thai place, but that was pretty much the only, non-American food that you could find.
Yeah. Are you documenting anything at this time? Are you writing? Are you taking pictures? Are you,
I think I got my first camera when I did that trip to Spain.
Okay.
And I don't have any of those pictures anymore. Since gotten a lot better about keeping track of that stuff. But
right.
Yeah, I started actually taking pictures and documenting. And
Was it, did you have a goal in mind, or were you just like, I like taking pictures? Pictures.
I think I'd always had the dream that I could be a photographer.
Okay.
But it felt like something that was way too far away, like the people that I'd seen as the archetype of photographers were like the fashion photographer in New York working with, really high-end models or, just I had seen these versions of photography that weren't actually real. So I didn't see any path to getting there because it seemed like I'd have to become a movie star to do it.
Right. That's a good, something I don't really think about. When you, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like when you see a wedding photographer, and I'm sure when you were a kid, you went to some weddings or something that there was a photographer at.
Totally.
You don't never really looked at that person as like, wow, I could do that. But when you looked at those people taking pictures of like models, you're like, damn.
Yeah,
I want to do that.
Yeah,
I don't know how to get there, but that's how you get there. You got to be the fucking wedding guy first, you know? So you picked up a camera, you're in Spain, you love food. What's your move from there?
So I came back to the States. Again, inertia entirely because I had a friend that was living in San Diego. It's like, okay, I'll go to San Diego, maybe try to get into grad school there. Took a road trip from Denver to San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
Had a flat tire in Death Valley, which was exciting.
Hot.
Yeah, it's hot. Like sitting on the side of this, 2-lane highway with big trucks going by, like trying to.
It's like the blurry sand view. Yeah, not good.
Made it though. So
yeah.
Good.
Hey, whatever. Mei Lin was telling me about her road trip. She's like, "Yep, drove from it was the middle of the country to LA in 14 hours." I'm like, "What'd you do?" She's like, "I just pulled over the side of the road, slept a couple hours, and drove more." I'm like, gotta enjoy yourself more. You know what I mean? Like the flat tire sometimes is good. It slows you down. You're like, now you have a story to tell all these years later. You know, had you not had that flat tire, this podcast would not be interesting. No, I'm kidding. So you move back, you go to San Diego. What's your plan when you get to San Diego? I'm going to work at a restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the first few weeks I had zero plan and got to the realization pretty quickly that I needed to make some money.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Like restaurant was kind of the only thing. Again, like I just had these blinders on to what the possibilities of life were, and the restaurant was the only thing that I saw.
Yeah. Did it matter to you which restaurant you worked at?
I mean, back then, the landscape in San Diego was pretty dire, so it wasn't like there were any restaurants that I was really looking at and saying I want to work at that place. It was kind of just coming down to who's going to hire me because I had no experience.
Right.
And you got this shy, awkward kid trying to get a front of the house position. Like, I just remember my first job. It's probably for a busser, and I'm training, and I'm like just standing in the corner of the restaurant, so terrified to have to go talk to a table.
And when you finally went and talked to that table, what happened?
It was tough.
Yeah.
But it got easier next time.
Yeah.
And I just kept doing it. And
after a while, it's just like second nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always, whenever we'd go to like Friendly's or something, like to get ice cream, I would see here, I'll flip this over right here. Boom. Cool. There you go. The weight is distributed weird on this thing. I'd see servers that were my age and I'd be like, damn, I could not do that. You know, that's why I went to the kitchen. I'm like, I don't have to talk to fucking anybody, you know, and I can be weird and it doesn't matter, you know? But the front of the house is a whole different game. So you're in the front of the house. How old are you now at this point?
Would have been about 25.
25. So you are about to kill it in San Diego. 25-year-old, young, beautiful, working at a restaurant. What was your busboy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like busboy.
Yeah.
I think I did that for 6 months and got a job as a server, like lunchtime.
How long were your days?
Not that bad.
Not that bad?
Yeah, I think this was kind of when the labor laws were shifting in California a little bit.
Okay, I
starting
see.
to get a little more careful about, when
working you 12 to 16 hours.
Yeah,
shift pay.
Like you had to take that break and you had to get everything documented.
Right. Okay. How long did you stay at that restaurant?
I think I went through like 6 restaurants in the course of about 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So just
kind of what else is next sort of thing?
Part of it was that I was bad too.
Yeah.
I just wasn't good at the job. So it took some time to finally get enough experience under my belt that I wasn't just getting fired for, sucking.
For making mistakes.
Yeah.
It's all right. If only those people could see you now.
Yep.
They fucked up by firing you.
Well, it was formative too. It's good to get fired a few times.
Yeah, for sure. One of my old chefs was like, if you don't get fired, you haven't been trying hard enough. Yeah. So whatever. So when did you finally hit your stride? What restaurant did you go to where you're like, I got this shit?
Honestly, I don't think it was until San Francisco.
Okay.
I moved up here in 2012.
What made you move up here?
I was with a girl at the time, and she just moved. I was at work, and she's like, "Hey, I moved to San Francisco. You're welcome to come with me if you want." And
really,
I was like, "All right." I'm gonna go to
Were you living with her in San Diego?
Yep.
And she's just like, I moved to San Francisco?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Do you have to break a lease or what do you?
Yeah, there's all kinds of awkward stuff that happened because of that.
Yeah, I bet.
Remember,
but she said you could come up here and you were like, yeah, why not?
My boss at the time, this dude was savage. I gave him notice and I told him why. And he's like, you sure she's not trying to get away from you?
Yeah.
In hindsight, I'm like, yeah, he's right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think she threw you a bone. She didn't think you were going to move up there. And you were like, I'm fucking moving up here.
But it was the best thing for my life.
Yeah. That's, man, I don't care what anybody says. Women make you better, even if you have shitty relationships. For some reason, they still like help you, realize things, become a better version of you, understand how you talk to people, all these things.
I needed a kick in my ass because I would have just stayed in San Diego for far too long and wasted too many years.
So when you got back over here, or when you get here,
Yep.
San Francisco, what is your first plan? What do you do?
Again, like just trying to find a job and make enough money to make ends meet, and pretty quickly got a job at RN74 when that was still around.
Okay.
I was only there for 6 or 9 months, and then Quince after that, and I ended up being at Quince for quite a while.
Okay. The woman that you were with, was she a restaurant person?
Yeah.
Okay. Was she more focused in what she was doing as a restaurant person?
No.
Okay.
There was a lack of focus on both of our parts.
Got you. Which I will say seems to be the story for most front of the house professionals for like the first 5 years.
Yep.
Before they're like, actually, okay, fine, I'll do this forever.
Yeah.
Let me take it a little bit more seriously.
Well, I think I went through this arc of, I was busser, server, went into management. I was doing the wine thing for a while and got what I thought was the best job I could get in San Diego, which was general manager of this place in Coronado. And I think the raise that I got was to like $60,000 a year, and just realized that was now the peak of where I was going to be if I stayed in San Diego. And I think I had that idea in the back of my mind that I needed to get out of this town and go somewhere where more was happening in the culinary scene.
Right. Okay.
And I think San Francisco was just that place in my mind. I'd heard all the accolades of the restaurants up there. I'd actually heard of RN74, so it was exciting to get a call back when I did an interview there.
Yeah. Who hired you there?
Raj Bar, I think.
Okay. And you stayed there for 7-8 months.
Yeah.
Did you leave for a specific reason?
Wasn't too into the job.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just some general
and then
mismatches.
The move to Quince, was that premeditated? Were you at The first spot being like, I need to go somewhere better.
Yeah, basically. And
okay.
not to say Aaron 74 was a bad place. It was
Mm.
great. I mean, I made some amazing connections there that I still know to this day, and I'm still working with these people.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I was looking for something that was a little more high end. I wanted to, as a goal for down the road, I wanted to work at a 3-star. I wanted to be at a place that was doing things a little more refined.
Right. Okay.
And Quince was a 1-star at that point, but it seemed like they had the potential, and for sure they did.
Mm-hmm. Who was the team there when you got there?
Oh man, it was
chef wise.
Well, Mike Tusk, still the chef.
Always
went through a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. This guy Aaron Martinez,
Mm-hmm.
He was the chef at this place 1500 Ocean, where I had my first GM position.
Okay.
So it was his first executive chef position, and we worked together there for a couple of years, and then that's when I moved up to San Francisco. So said bye to him there, and then he got hired on as chef de cuisine at Quince.
Oh wow!
Like 3 years later.
That's cool, man.
So like I see him interviewing, like, what are you doing here, man?
Yeah, and he's like, I'm your boss now. You're like, okay, well, that's cool.
Yeah, we get along well though.
Yeah,
cool.
right, fuck it. That's funny. So, what are you doing at Quince? How'd you start there? What were your positions?
They would move everybody through all of the positions. So everybody started as a food runner, and that place is a beast. Like it needs so many bodies to operate. So I think we had like 5 food runners, and then pretty quickly got moved up to back server, do the back server thing for a few months, and then it was like a test to see if you could become a captain. They would put you in the lounge, which was a section that didn't have a back server, so you're by yourself, and would just get crushed for a couple hours. There wasn't that.
To see how you handled it.
Yeah.
And then once you made it past that, you were the captain.
Yep. So I was a captain there, on and off for maybe 5 years.
Okay. On and off.
Yeah, I took 2014 off. Went and traveled around South America and then Southeast Asia for about a year.
And they were cool with that?
Well, I mean, I quit, but then they hired me back as soon as I came back. So
okay. Why did you do this? Why did you go away?
I figured if there was a time in my life that I had the opportunity to do this, this was it. I had enough money in the bank that I could actually leave everything and survive for a year happily.
Okay.
And yeah.
Do it up. How old were you?
So I would have been 34.
34.
Yeah.
Right. See, I'm 32 now, fucking looking at life like I may be a little bit too old, but fuck that.
Yeah, man.
Life isn't over, baby.
I think it was not because of that trip, but it was somewhere around there that I really started feeling like I was living a new life. You get that feeling where, you're going through life and you're like, you see these inflection points where you're kind of a different person all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm. All of a sudden. That's a good key term to use. Because I'm like, I was listening to this thing the other day. I think it's like a viral thing now. And the guy was like, he's like, I get like excited to go to Home Depot. He's like, I don't even need anything. I just want to smell the wood.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was at Outside Lands and I was looking around and I was like, where are the fucking parents at? There's too many kids here unsupervised. And I was like, wait a minute. Am I the old one now?
Yeah.
It's all good. I think we're the target audience now though, too.
Yeah.
Everything you see is catered towards us. You can see the Super Bowl, all that music was very popular in, mid 2000s, early 90s. Yeah. So it's like everything is like saying now being catered towards us. It's cool to see kind of, the world's shifting.
Totally.
So what did you do while you were traveling? Traveling to eat, traveling to stay at places, taking pictures.
So
did you know anybody?
Yeah.
Did you go by yourself?
Went with the girl that I moved up to San Francisco with.
Okay. So the relationship, you saved it. Chef.
Yeah, we actually didn't break up.
There you go.
We did later on.
Okay.
But
or loss.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's all good though.
If you're out there, why would you leave this beautiful man? Like, look at him. Jesus Christ. Joseph Weaver.
So
yeah,
like not having anything to do was the best thing in the world for me because, we're traveling around. We did have some people that we're meeting up with, a lot of people that we worked with in restaurants. But not having a job, like I don't think I was actually like this before that trip, but I've become just an insanely focused person. Like I'm like one of those service dogs. Like I have to have something to do all the time. So I started taking pictures and like making a blog out of it, and didn't really have much viewership at the time, but kind of felt like
Were you focused on having viewership, or you were just like,
no,
I'm just doing this for fun?
I was focused on taking pictures, and the blog was just the output for it. So
Okay.
at that point, I didn't really care if anybody was seeing it or not.
Yeah. What are some of the things that when you say focus on taking the pictures, is it the lighting? Is it the quality of the picture? Like, what does that mean to you? You're using a digital camera.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So using a digital camera, it's not like before where, I don't know, you tell me, the photographer really had control over the image. No, because you have no, like, you're not looking at anything, right? So you really need to like be.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you don't get that instant feedback.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, is this good or not? You find out fucking, 48 hours later, and you're like, fuck this.
To be honest, I think digital cameras are so much better for training than for that exact reason, because you can take a picture of something, look at it, and say, well, I screwed that up, but maybe I'll tweak something else to get the image that I want.
Right.
With film, like I love that analog feel, but if you don't see what you've taken a picture of for weeks or months after that, you've already forgotten what the light actually looked like in that scene.
Right.
And there's no
so you don't know if you can't correct it.
Yeah. Like how do you correct the training within yourself to figure out what you did wrong?
Okay. So are you more pre-production or post-production? Like, do you basically, are you taking super raw pictures and then editing them, or are you,
I think as I've gone along, I am editing a lot less. There's always editing involved because, if you look at the ones and zeros that are coming out of that sensor, it's not an image. So it has had to go through all kinds of manipulation to even become something that we can see and recognize as an image that's similar to what we actually saw with our eyes. But to answer your question, as I'm going along, I edit a lot less.
Got you.
Looking back at some of my early stuff, I'm like, oh God, I just ruined that picture by over editing it.
How many pictures are you taking in a session? Like, say, a full day at a restaurant versus how many pictures you give them final?
Oh, it really depends. I mean, the Bar Spiro shoot, I probably took 1,200 images, and I think I delivered about 70.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, but I had another shoot. I was doing some work for a winery in Napa a few days ago, and we were doing really deliberate scenes, and I think we only did 4 scenes, and they got 7 pictures for a full day.
Wow.
But they were beautiful images. And, they were really nicely styled. We had models involved. Like everything was perfect. So it depends. I mean, the stuff that I like the most is when I'm only able to produce a few images per hour, per, half day even.
Okay.
Because those are the ones that are like stunning images.
Do you like taking pictures of food or people?
Well, I mean, I already said it. I'm a pretty shy person, so I think food was easier for me to wrap my head around early on.
It's very intimate sometimes when you're taking portraits. You're very close to someone's like energy,
Well, and the portraits are all about the relationship between the photographer and the subject,
right?
And that was a lot harder for me to wrap my head around. But I am enjoying that stuff a lot more now. I think the restaurant thing was so formative for me because that experience of being that scared kid standing in the corner, like afraid to go talk to a table, and getting through that wall really made me a different person. And I don't know what I would be without having gone through that.
I always say, like, we should make our kids do at least a couple years in the military and then a year in a restaurant.
Yep.
Yeah, like, we'll just have better human beings overall, just going forward here.
Yeah.
Not too late to start. I mean, I would love to join the Marines right now. Why not? Crazy. So you went traveled and then you come back and they take you back. Is this a hard process? Or are you like, hey, I'm back in town? They're like, you're hired.
No, I mean, I think at this point I had pretty good relationships with a lot of people in the city. I'd been working there for quite a while. And the guy that was the GM at the time, I knew him pretty well. So I went and got coffee with him. Said, hey, I'm back in town. Do you need captains? And he said, yeah, absolutely. Come on back. So I think I was back in there within a week.
Okay. And when you came back, was there any changes? Did you find the restaurant to be the same?
Well, I think they had gotten their second star while I was gone. So, that always changes a lot of things.
Right.
They had gotten busier. Not that they were slow before, but now the books were pretty full every single night. And, you have that kind of confidence that allows them to start putting some more money into things and, hiring more staff, doing more complex table side and different preparations. And
so you really saw the transition into like, we're going to get this third star.
Yep.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Okay. Was that always the goal?
I think so.
Was that talked about at all staff meetings, things like that? Like the goal is to let's get these stars.
I don't think they ever really talked about Michelin, but it was implied.
Okay. How long was your second stint there?
A couple years, maybe.
A couple years.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of the actual timeline.
Yeah.
Might have been a year and a half, and then I think it was like mid 2016. I went to Saison. I had been at a wine tasting with one of the guys who was doing wine over there, and they said they were hiring. And I think I'd been at Quince long enough that I had gotten too comfortable. When you like know the job, just backwards and forwards, and you're
not learning.
Yeah, there's no more room to learn. So Saison seemed like something that was crazy, and it's definitely going through a weird time, but it seemed exciting. So.
Okay. So you hopped in there. What was your first position at Saison?
I think it was similar. Like the training was very long there. I think it was like a month-long training.
Okay.
And you go through like several days doing like commis work and working with the kitchen and
picking herbs.
Yeah, picking herbs.
Love that.
Yeah.
Who was the CDC at the time, chef?
Would have been Scott Clark.
Okay. Scott Clark.
Got Dad's Luncheonette down in Half Moon Bay.
All right.
He's another wild man.
Yeah. That's a crazy ass restaurant, man. Was Skeens there at that time? Or was he like being phased out a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I remember the day that I staged. Josh came in and like grabbed a bunch of products and then went off and like went to a barbecue.
Right.
Middle of service. And that was the only time that I saw him for maybe 2 months.
Yeah.
And then he'd come back in and
take more barbecue ingredients.
Well, yeah, probably. But
it's all good, bro.
He would come in and he'd be in the kitchen all day one day and like throw out everybody's mise en place.
Yeah.
It was bad and just cause havoc. But that's also when the really, fascinating things happen on the menu too.
Right.
So it's like during that time when you would see him come into the restaurant, you knew it was going to be like the worst day.
Right.
But
there's going to be blood on the walls.
There's going to be blood on the walls.
But you're going to learn something.
Yeah. And and the menu was fantastic. I mean, that was a special place at that time.
Yeah.
It still is. But I think that chaos really bred something interesting.
Dope. Are you taking pictures during this time?
Yeah, pretty quickly after that. They were actually looking for somebody to document stuff that was happening in the restaurant.
At Saison?
At Saison.
So that's where you got your start?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a camera and a couple lenses in the restaurant all the time. And I think the way the front of the house was structured at that time, I could basically just step away from my station at any point, whether that was during service.
And just snap a picture real quick?
So if interesting things were happening, like at the fire, I'd just run off and grab my camera and start taking pictures.
Was Bonjwing in the scene at this point?
Yeah.
So did you get any pointers from Bonjwing? Was Bonjwing like sort of
we
teaching you the ways, or was he like, go fuck yourself?
No, he was cool. I mean, he would come in and like spend a day photographing stuff, and then he would come in and eat at night and shoot the menu at that point. And I didn't talk to him a lot at that point. We have later on, but
okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I love his work.
Yeah, his work is awesome. I mean, he's a pioneer, that guy.
Yeah.
I was telling him the other day, I saw him at the market when I saw all the Saison guys. They were doing that dinner with Pratik, and he was there with them, and I'm like, man, like, people need to realize you've been around since Jeremy Fox had Ubuntu days.
Yep.
Like, people don't know about that shit, and I think he's so humble that he doesn't talk about it. But man, sometimes you got to dunk on these fools. Tell them what's up. Tell them you invented the game, dog. It's all good, So you're taking pictures at Saison, and when does it become like, wait a minute, like I can do this for other places?
Well, even before that, I'd been shooting pop-ups for friends of mine that were,
Okay. Well, pop-ups.
Oh man, I don't even remember now.
Yeah. Were there any that are brick and mortars today, or
No.
Right.
But it was all like chefs and friends of mine who were trying to, go out on their own.
Yeah.
Hopefully get their own restaurant one day.
Okay, so you were getting practice in.
Yep.
You were doing those practice rounds. You were doing Saison. How long did you stay at Saison?
3 years.
3 years. Did you ever make it to management there?
No, I didn't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think at this point, I had done the management thing in San Diego, and maybe it was like halfway through the Saison experience, I started realizing that photography could actually be an ongoing
viable option for you,
like something totally viable
with income, and got you.
So I kept
living in the Bay. Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just tough. So you leave Saison. Do you have any plans of going into restaurants ever again? Do you go to another restaurant after Saison?
I went back to Quince actually.
You did. Okay.
I was working there 2 nights a week during the weekends. Just kind of, I enjoyed it. It was a job that I knew. The pay was great. So,
making some money, and then just what were you doing the rest of the days?
Photography.
Okay. Yeah. Was that hired jobs, or were you mainly hobbying those days?
It was pretty much all paid.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it started out kind of slow in those days, but people were reaching out saying, "Hey, can you come shoot for me?" It's just all been word of mouth since then.
What's the typical turnaround time for pictures?
I like to go very quickly,
right,
if I can. So I often try to leave the day after a shoot unfilled on my schedule, so I can just edit all day. Just
edit, go.
If I can get the pictures back the next day, that's what I'm aiming for.
What software are you using to edit?
I use Capture One primarily as my digital asset management system, and it's like Lightroom.
Okay,
very very similar to that.
Very cool.
And then Photoshop for any heavier lifts.
Okay. Do you do video?
A little bit. Yeah, I still haven't totally wrapped my mind around like the storytelling aspects of motion. So I've been getting really into shooting clips and then trying to kind of
figure it out after.
Yeah. So I don't sell that as a service because I'm not there yet.
You're like, I'm not there yet. Yeah, I hear you, man. I've been toying around with the idea of this being filmed with a drone.
Oh yeah.
But then you have to have just one person just literally flying it around the whole time.
Oh, I'd love.
But I think it'd be cool to just be sitting here, because usually the drone stuff is high up or whatever.
Yeah.
But it could come in, swoop in, and like have more of a, instead of it cutting to you when you talk, it's more of like a panning. So I'm trying to figure it out.
It's funny you say that. Actually, I probably take more video with my drone than with anything else.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I find it, I like the camera, like looking at it like that, but I'm just not, I don't feel my best. Yep. I feel my best when it's like this. Camera's already set up and I'm just talking normal. Right. I don't have to like notice something or like make eye contact with it. You know what I mean? Even though my mom's like, hey, the show would be better if you made more eye contact with the camera. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, Mom. Really don't.
Sorry.
I'm doing this all on my own here. All right. For crying out loud. You got any projects in the works that you're excited about other than the BV magazine?
Oh yeah.
You've been doing?
Yeah. I got that book in the works.
Yeah.
I think we've got a shoot scheduled for that here in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the summer's been so busy. I'm starting to slow down a little bit right now, which is actually letting me do more work on personal projects.
Right.
So I've got some weird things that I'm working on.
Weird stuff. Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how to take microscopic images of fermenting products.
Okay.
So like setting up a microscope with a camera attached to it.
Kind of like the trichome.
Yeah.
When they take pictures of the trichome on the weed.
Exactly.
That's a good thing. I like that.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
It might well turn into like nothing, and these images just look like garbage. But
are you specifically looking for people that ferment, or are you like, hey, I'm at a restaurant, they also ferment, let me throw a telescope on this thing? Or
well, I mean, a lot of it's coming from Adam. Like he's doing all these ferments for the book.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it was that was the brainchild, trying to
Okay.
figure out how to make these ferments show off, their beauty, but it just looks like a pile of sludge. So
Mm-hmm. Like, what does mold look like on the molecular level?
yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
I've also got a fish tank set up in my studio right now.
Mm-hmm.
Taking pictures of seaweed. Got like this seaweed portrait idea.
Yeah. Are you growing the seaweeds?
No, it's a good idea.
You're just going to buy them and
Yeah.
kind of throwing them in there and okay.
I think hydrating that stuff, it looks so much different than
it does.
sitting dry on a plate.
And then when you have like pumps in there that are like making a move, or what do you?
Yeah, I've got some little air things. I used to be really into fish.
Yeah.
So totally on the nerd bent with the little miniatures, but I
Okay.
had huge fish tanks when I was growing up.
They have these underwater gaming computers. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like to cool the
It's to cool the
circuitry.
system down.
Yeah.
But it looks cool. It looks like a fish tank. It's like it's constantly going and like there's bubbles and shit you can put in there and
Yeah.
like the red lights and all that.
Actually,
That's cool.
I don't think it's going to be for the next few years, but Apple's working on a water cooled system for iPhones.
Really?
So you might just have like little water pumps in your iPhone.
Cooling it down?
Yeah.
I don't think they need to get that. Like,
I don't know, man.
does your iPhone overheat?
If I'm using my phone out on a hot day, like flying the drone around in sun, you'll notice your screen dims down because it has to start cooling itself off.
Right.
So,
And then sometimes it'll give you that warning, like I'm too hot.
Yeah.
You need to help me out. Okay. Heard that. Don't take it easy on the fucking cell phones. That's what we got to do. Crazy. So working on the BB magazine thing, you got restaurants calling you. Fucking, how do they get a hold of you? On the website?
Yeah, I think I get a lot of traction from the website.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram's huge too. I mean, I get so many people referencing my Instagram when they hire me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd say probably 75% of the actual work that I'm doing is ongoing stuff. So
Yeah.
it's clients that have me on retainer. I'll see them, every month or two.
Mm-hmm.
I love those relationships too, just because when you get to know somebody, know a client better, you understand what they need. They
Mhm.
understand what you need. Everything just kind of gets to be so much smoother, and the
Right.
product gets so much better.
That's awesome. Wow. So you are, I mean, this is your life now, baby. I
Yeah.
love that. How does that feel after?
It's wild. Like I wake up some mornings and make my coffee and go sit in front of my computer. I'm just like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, it just didn't seem like a possibility.
Yeah, you were saying that. And then now after all this time, like how do your parents feel about it? Like what,
I think they're happy.
Yeah.
I think my parents just always wanted me to do something that
It made you happy? Yeah.
And restaurants were that thing for a while, and they were excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're excited about this.
Cool, man. Cool. Well, fucking let's do more shows. And I'd love to get the photographer roundtable going with
Yeah, it'd be
you,
awesome.
Adalia, and Trox, just to, get the ins and outs of what chefs can do better when they hire a photographer. I'll ask you that right now. What are some things that chefs can do just to better prepare for a photographer? I'm sure you have no problems because the people you work with are professionals, but I'm sure there's also some people that you've gone to work with that maybe haven't done that many photo shoots. Is there any sort of tips you have for those?
Honestly, I don't think about the image needs that much when it comes to food. And yeah, like you said, most of my clients know what they're doing
Mhm.
when they're plating their food, and that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't need a food stylist because you've got a professional food stylist in that
Exactly.
chef. But to me, it's just do what you do. I almost don't view myself as an artist as much as a documentarian.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to take somebody's food, put the best light I can on it, and just show it as what it is. Not trying to put my own spin on it too much.
Right. Okay. Dope. Well, thank you very much, Joseph.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah. Sucio Talk, signing off. Peace out.